what I'd like to do today is educate people on Marxism. I've been trying to figure out Marxism, and the reason I've been doing that is because I've been trying to figure out what the anti-Gamergate side sees in this. I've been trying to understand their perspective, because they seem like a bunch of raving lunatics. One thing that has been mentioned quite a bit has been Marxism, specifically cultural Marxism. I noticed after a stream that Sargon had done that people were going around with this tinfoil hat, oh my God, conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat, whenever he brought up cultural Marxism. And I was like, that's really strange. I mean, it's pretty clear that this is a culture war and that these people have Marxist beliefs. So, I mean, what's the problem? Well, apparently, for some time now, right-wingers have had this conspiracy theory in regards to Marxism infiltrating culture. And basically, they blame political correctness and feminism and homosexual rights and a whole bunch of other things all tied together into one big conspiracy theory that has to do with some Jews that escaped from from Germany, and they took refuge by working at Columbia University or something like that. Basically, what I'm saying is that this is where the negative perception of cultural Marxism comes from. Is that it originated as a kind of a wacky theory. But however, once I looked at it, there is some truth to what they're saying. It's just that not everything they're saying is true, and their assertions especially, their assertions are way off. So let's go ahead and cover just Marxism. Let me give you just a crash course in Marxism. Marxism was created in the 1800s by a man named Karl Marx. He was really upset about the inequalities that he saw around him. He saw all these workers that were getting treated like crap. They'd have 12-hour workdays, 7 days a week. They'd get paid very little, while the people that own the businesses and the people that ran the businesses and their friends and their families, they all profited greatly. And as a result, they created this oppression that kind of fed the oppression. And so the problem that they really had is that they had this, they had a completely free market. There was no checks, there was no balances, there was nothing to stop people from exploiting other people, and the government wasn't standing up to them. Marx said, based on all this, there needs to be a revolution. And the only way we're ever going to have rights is if we take back the government, which ultimately brought communism to Russia. Marxists believe in a very anti-capitalist approach. They believe that capitalism is the root of the problem, and that socialism is the solution to the problem. So Marxism is actually really big, right? But that's the gist of it, or was, I should say. That's the origin of Marxism. Over the years, Marxism changed. It evolved. It's very different today. A Marxist today is quite different than the Marxists of yesteryear. The ideals are the same, but the strategy and the targets are very different. The basic idea of Marxism today is that there is always oppression from someone. Someone is always oppressing someone else, and there always needs to be a revolution. There's always needs to be a revolution somewhere, in some way, because somebody is oppressing somebody, and it has to be stopped. Part of the whole idea of Marxism is critical theory. Now, critical theory is admirable but dangerous, especially when it is embraced by people that have a very low level of intelligence. Critical theory is basically saying that we should challenge anything that's established. Anything that's established, we should challenge that. We should say, well, is this really true? Does this really matter? Or was this ever true? And they're willing to apply this to anything. It's hard to explain because it's hard for me to even understand this way of thinking, to be perfectly honest with you. Critical theory basically spawned this idea of social constructs. And basically the idea there is that certain things are constructed to constrain us, such as gender. What they're trying to say is that these ideas of what is obviously normal and what is obviously acceptable as a general pattern doesn't exist. And that instead they have this other idea, this highly evolved idea of normal, which people are just simply not ready for, quite frankly. And they're trying to push it on people. You know, people aren't ready. Like, not everyone accepts gay people. So pushing for trans people to be accepted, people are so close-minded in general. You have to realize that pushing this, especially transgender rights, is madness. Because you're never going to get anywhere with people unless you win them over. You have to show them that transgender people are people too, you know, and that they can exist alongside other people without disrupting them. Because everything you do does not have to be a disruption. This is another thing that is kind of grown out of Marxism, but I suppose that's an aside. Marxism has also been wrapped up with progressivism. Progressivism, in case you didn't know, grew out of Christian religion, and it was basically this set of ideals that were more open-minded than regular Christians, yet at the same time they were for a lot of the same things. And over time, this has basically degraded and just become Marxism entirely. So how does this all relate to Gamergate? Well, that's an excellent question. This relates to Gamergate because it's the same sort of thing. They see us, and by us, I mean gamers, as an oppressive force. What they see is that a dominant portion of both players and creators are both white and male. The way that they look at this is that they've applied Marxism to it. The AAA companies, well, they are the bourgeoisie. They are the middle class. They are the ones that are benefiting. They are the oppressors. They are the ones that are benefiting. They're the ones that are benefiting from the video game industry. And we, the gamers, are supporting this. And so the way they see it is that we're supporting oppression. And so they've made the assertion, based on their beliefs, that we are both, that gamers are bigots. And they come up with all of this based solely on ideas and not based on evidence. All they see are a bunch of white people in the same place. And so they therefore assume that because a bunch of white people are in the same place, that this is oppression, and that this is racism, and that it is being done intentionally to exclude other people. And that this isn't the result of capitalism, trying to say that this isn't a natural evolution of the free market. These are people that don't believe in the free market. People like, you know, they they see these women as being very, very oppressed simply because they're talking to people that are trying to defend gaming, and they see that as oppression. They see us defending ourselves from their criticism as oppression. They don't understand that they've made the attacks, that they've attacked something that hasn't harmed them, and that isn't harmful to them, and that isn't doing anything to them, and yet they're attacking it based on this Marxist ideology. They're not attacking us because we're racist or homophobic. If there are gamers like that, they are a small minority of gamers. They do not represent the majority. They do not represent gaming culture. That's not at all accurate. That is totally not what this is. But I'm losing my voice, so I guess I'm going to have to stop here.